Welcome to Point 9 with Skol and IA. Today, for those who don't know what the series is, which is the first episode, so I doubt anyone besides IA and myself know, it is the first episode of a weekly sports talk kind of podcast edited to a video that I'm going to bring to my channel. IA will be my co-host. We'll talk sports each week. This week for our list of topics, we're going to start talking some MLB. We've got a few different topics there. As a Twins fan, I'm going to talk about the Twins a little bit. We're also going to talk about the players of the week, and at least a little bit about trade deadline activity. Then we'll talk about the NFL a little bit. Training camp is getting underway soon. The new seasons, both for Madden Mobile and Madden Console, are coming sooner than we think. So, talking about the Madden 99 Club, some things like that. And then finally, we'll talk about some NBA news to wrap up the video. But anyways, getting into our first topic, the MLB Major League Baseball. We'll start with the players of the week, start off kind of basic. Then we'll talk about trade deadline stuff, what moves we could see being made, and then and the MLB portion of things with Twins Minute. So starting with the players of the week. In the AL, it was Ramon Laureano. On the week, Ramon Laureano had an OPS of 1,042. He had 2 homers, and he had 6 doubles in 6 games. At least 3, if not 4, of which came against the Twins. Twins in Oakland split the series, but Laureano definitely was key in Oakland's 2 wins, and honestly was a big factor in making their 2 close losses very close games. Then Keyston Hiria for the Brewers had an OPS of 966 with a homer, 2 triples, and 6 doubles in 7 games this past week for the Brewers. Then next we'll talk about the MLB trade deadline a little bit. The standings for Major League Baseball are pretty weird. So in the American League, you've got teams who are clearly out of it. You've got the Baltimore Orioles. They're not even going to win a third of their games. You've got the Toronto Blue Jays with some young, promising studs in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. There is also Bo Bichette in the minors. And even Kevin Biggio, the son of Craig Biggio, hasn't looked too bad. But that team's a mess. They'll probably trade off Ken Giles and Marcus Stroman. The pitcher market is going to be flooded. The question is just how many teams. In the AL Central, you've got the White Sox, 7 games below 500, but their run differential is very bad at minus 90. They are not performing to the standard that a typical 45 and 52 team would. They're likely to decline. They're not going to trade any of their young studs. They're not going to trade Giolito. They're not going to trade Eloy Jimenez. No one like that. But you could see some of their veterans moving towards the trade deadline potentially. The Royals and Tigers are far worse than the White Sox. They're definitely going to be sellers. And out west, the Mariners are for sure going to be sellers. And then you've got the Angels and Rangers, who have both, from all outward appearances, been outperforming their actual talent, their actual roster, but they're close enough to contending. The question remains, do they go in sell mode, build towards the future, or do they try to stick it out for their loyal fan bases and at least pretend to be contenders, even though they probably really aren't? In the NL, you only really have one team out of it, which is the Miami Marlins. The second worst team record-wise is the New York Mets. Now, their GM has said they'll be in sell mode, but as of the recording of this video, which is Tuesday afternoon, the Mets are only 9 games below 500. The third worst team in the National League record-wise is the Cincinnati Reds, who have a positive 28 run differential, which says that they should be like the 6th best team in the National League. Their record just isn't quite there yet. There's a lot of people saying they should buy and be contenders, and, everything goes up from there. Now, in the NL West, the bottom 3 teams, the Giants, Rockies, and Padres, all have negative run differentials, but are all very close and in contention. The Giants are something ridiculous, like 15-3 in their last 18 games. In the NL Central, you've got all 5 teams realistically competing for the division. And in the NL East, you've got the Nationals and Phillies, both strong wildcard contenders. With the unified trade deadline, not as many teams and not as many players are going to move for cheaply. So for sellers, they can get more prospects and better prospects than they have been able to in the past. Seems like a lot of pitching is going to be available, with a lot of teams also needing pitching. The Brewers can always use more pitchers. The Twins need more pitchers. The Yankees always seem to need another pitcher or two. The Tampa Bay Rays, if they don't want to use openers in the playoffs, are going to need a starter or two. If you look in the NL, the Braves need more pitching of all types. The Cubs can use another starter. The Dodgers can use bullpen help. So really, all of the teams that are up there can use more pitching. There should be abundant pitching. The question will be, what is the price? And now we've got Twins Minute. The Twins. So we're recording this before their Tuesday game against the Yankees. They beat the Yankees Monday, 8-6. Pretty rare for the Twins to beat the Yankees, so that was a welcome surprise. Of course, the big play of the game was the Twins' triple play in the first inning. Perez let the first 2 batters of the game get on base. Then a grounder to Luis Arias at third, gobbled it up, stepped on third, threw to Scope at second, on to first, and 2 throws later, you've got yourself a triple play. The bats were alive. They hit 5 home runs. You know, everything you'd want to see from a Twins team in getting the win. That being said, recently the Twins have been playing a little bit below 500 baseball. The Cleveland Indians are now just 3 or 3.5 games back of the Twins in the AL Central. And the biggest thing of concern, the Twins' bullpen has looked horrendous recently and is really going to need to clean things up to continue to contend.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like you said, the Twins, they've been slumping below 500 baseball. You know, the Indians have been rising to the occasion, but this is baseball, you know, obviously. The great teams, some of them slump just for a little bit, and then they rise up in October. And, you know, the Twins, I believe, are going to be a strong AL playoff contender. And I think, in my unbiased opinion, they can make the World Series. Now, I know that's a far-fetched comment and, you know, hot take here. But, you know, I think the Twins are the best team in baseball. I mean, overall, besides the last couple weeks, they've, you know, had record-breaking year. I mean, look at the 166 home runs before the All-Star break. Record right there. I mean, not often do you see things like that. I guess, you know, the league has become more of a home run league, but the Twins are the team taking advantage of that. And, you know, it's impressive. And not just that, their defense has also been impressive. I mean, oh man, it's a great team overall, except for, like you said, the pitching has not been the greatest lately. But hey, all teams have a slump, and I know the Twins are going to come back. And beating the Yanks last night was the start of the comeback. So I have no issues there. I think the Indians will be below Minnesota for the rest of the way.
Oh, absolutely. I think the offense slumping is not the problem. I'm worried about the pitching, but I think if they can make a move, get, you know, one good starter, one good reliever, that will fix a lot of problems.
Go right to the NFL. You know, it's the 100th season of the NFL. It's a great celebration. However, I am very suspect of this NFL season, and we're going to start with some things. G, you can continue on with this topic.
Let's talk about something a little more pleasant NFL-related that will still stir the pot, though, and that being holdouts. I think I had seen Julio Jones was threatening a holdout, but I am pretty sure he was reporting to camp. Jadeveon Clowney's not going to get a long-term deal. Well, the deadline passed anyways, but he didn't get a long-term deal. I mean, he could maybe hold out, but there wouldn't be much value to that. But the 2 big names I've heard that are threatening actual holdouts and have reasonable leverage to do so, one would be Yannick Ngakoue from the Jaguars, and I probably butchered his name, so I apologize for that. The other, Melvin Gordon for the Los Angeles Chargers.
Didn't Ezekiel Elliott?
Yeah, but I think with oh yeah, and Ezekiel Elliott too. I think all three guys are in the last year of their current rookie deals and are seeking, guaranteed money before this season starts for beyond this season.
Personally, I think holdouts. Okay, in my opinion, you think of it this way: you're at your job, you're appreciated, but you're not making the money that shows the appreciation. What do? You go on strike if it's, an actual job. I'm not talking like McDonald's. I'm talking like, union job. You go on strike. Now, these players, they can go on strike. They hold out. Now, personally, I think Ezekiel Elliott, if he holds out, I don't blame him as much because he honestly is that team. Because, and this is the statistics as of 2018. He has 4,048 yards, 4.7 yards per carry, 28 touchdowns. Now, that's in 3 seasons. He's already on pace to be a Hall of Famer if he keeps this up. I mean, that's enough ground for me to say, all right, we need a big deal. He's the face of the franchise. Dak Prescott is a good quarterback, but he's not the face of the franchise. Ezekiel Elliott is the reason why the Cowboys had any hope last year. That is just my opinion. Dak Prescott may be a great accurate passer. However, Ezekiel Elliott's ground game will always complete the Dallas Cowboys. And then you have Melvin Gordon. In 4 seasons, he's amassed 3,628 yards, a 4.0 rushing average with 28 touchdowns. Now, here's my issue. I, of course, am a Wisconsin, and I have loved Melvin Gordon daily. However, Melvin Gordon in the NFL has had some good years. This is like last year.
He's had a good year.
He had a good year overall, but it was not a year I would boast about. He only had 1,300 yards total. He had 800 yards rushing, but remember, he was hurt. He had 14 total touchdowns. So, in a way, he was fine. The year before that, he ran 1,100 yards and had 400-plus receiving yards and 12 touchdowns total. That's all right. In his first season, he didn't have 0 touchdowns. He had 0 touchdowns and only 800 yards total. And then his second season, he had 997 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns, and then 419 receiving and 2 touchdowns receiving. So, is he consistent? Yes, he's averaged plus 12 touchdowns every year since his first season. But do the Chargers necessarily need to sign him to a long-term deal? I don't think so. In my opinion, the Chargers have a great line, and their backup running backs are pretty good. And I don't think there's a reason to re-sign him. But if they re-sign him, it would be a great thing. Melvin Gordon is a good football player, great football player. However, is he worth Ezekiel Elliott? No. He is not the face of the franchise. That face is always going to be Philip Rivers until he retires. It's Philip Rivers, and you got Keenan Allen, and all these good guys up here, and then Melvin Gordon comes up. I don't see Melvin. I see Melvin coming back as a Charger, but I don't see him as Ezekiel Elliott style. And then Robert Ngakwe, you said?
Yannick.
Yannick?
Yeah, defensive end for the Jaguars. Hey man, the Jaguars are going to have half of their defense sold out. Telvin Smith is sitting out the year. Jalen Ramsey is going to play out his walk year. But he's also talking like he's going to leave Jacksonville, even though he's from Florida, played at Florida State. I don't get how inept the Jaguars front office can be. Let me look up how many sacks Yannick actually has.
You have to understand, though, that Jacksonville defense is a defense of stars, and you have to pay stars. And it's hard to pick who, because everybody on that defense is so good, it's hard to pick who. It's like, who do you pay? Who do you pay? That defense is stacked. It's like the Golden State Warriors of football on that defense. And I don't understand how they expect the offense to rise. The defense is getting paid so much. It's gonna be such a rough score for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ngakwe has 29.5 sacks in his first 3 years in the league. So it's not like he's a slouch. Because he wasn't a first-round pick, this is the last year on his current deal. Yeah, I agree. The Jaguars are a mess in ways other teams aren't. So we've got the Madden 99 club on the screen. I'll let you go through them for people who don't know.
Well, all right, so we have Aaron Donald from top to bottom. Aaron Donald on the left side. We got Bobby Wagner on the right. And then we got Pat Mahomes, obviously the cover guy this year. And then you got Khalil Mack and DeAndre Hopkins. Now, this is where I'm going to start. The two players that have been the most consistent out of these five, I'm going to mark off Pat Mahomes because last year was his first actual season.
He's also
Bobby
at
Wagner,
97.
D-Hop, Bobby Wagner and D-Hop are the two most underrated players in football. DeAndre Hopkins has been the most consistent receiver for receiving yards and touchdowns. He's not the top, top, but he's been the most consistent that it impresses me. He played with Tom Savage and had a 100-yard game. How? He belongs in this club no matter what. And now that I hope he gets to the Super Bowl with D-Watt. But, and then you have Bobby Wagner, who's been in the top 90s ever since, Madden 15, So, I'm impressed that he's kept his longevity as the top middle linebacker in football because he is the top middle linebacker in football. And I am not going to take any argument because it's, Luke Kuechly is a great linebacker. But he's second to Bobby Wagner. And then on the left side, you got Aaron Donald. Obviously, he's 2-time Defensive Player of the Year now. He's been a very good defensive end. I think that...
He's a defensive tackle.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
He had 20 and a half sacks.
Yeah.
Rushing up the middle last year.
Two Defensive Player of the Years in a row. And it's impressive. Yeah. And I messed up and said he's a defensive end. Oh, my God. And then you got, the Chicago Bear that I really don't want to talk about, Khalil Mack. He's just a monster up the middle. And, the middle end, whatever the hell he lines up now. At this point, he can line up anywhere, and he'd still own the defense. So, Chicago's getting him in another season, and, he's just going to put up another monster year. And then in the middle, you have the 2018 NFL MVP, Patrick Mahomes, who, in my opinion, is not the best quarterback in the NFL. And I hope Madden shows that later in the season. However, he is the most consistent quarterback because all they can do right now is throw the football. Because they have two great receivers on the end, and then they have a great tight end. And then look at that, they have a back that can receive the ball. Interesting. Coincidence? I think not.
Well, Mahomes not a 99. Interesting. I do agree for now, at least, with him being the highest rated quarterback. Now, we all know ratings get updated throughout the year. So if Mahomes is not playing like the best quarterback, hopefully Madden does step in and adjust ratings accordingly. One thing I think people might overlook on Khalil Mack, his stats don't look that great from last year, but he was playing hurt most of the year. And when he was healthy and playing 100%, if you watched him during those few instances, you could tell he was head and shoulders above the opposing offensive lines. So if he's healthy for close to a full year, I can't wait to see what he does. Even though I'm a Vikings fan and don't want to see him have that type of success in the same division, I think he's the one where the stats don't line up, but if you actually watch him on the field, the production doesn't lie. Now we've got some NBA and basketball news to talk about to wrap up the show. The first thing, the basketball tournament. Are you familiar with that, IA?
No. I know that, it's fun to watch in the summer, obviously.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, the $2 million winner-take-all basketball tournament. Single elimination, 64 teams, and for the past 4 years, Team Overseas Elite has won the championship. They've won 24 games in a row in a single elimination format, which is absurd. No NCAA basketball team has done that, not even the great UCLA Bruins under John Wooden back in the 70s. Now, Overseas Elite, they play their first couple games this upcoming weekend. I'll probably be tuning in to watch them just because it's impressive to see a dynasty like that. The other teams are generally alumni from different colleges, and there's no Minnesota alumni teams. I don't really care about the other teams, but it should be something fun to watch. I think the early games are on ESPN2 or ESPN3 online, and I know the semifinals and championship are on ESPN.
Leading into the next topic, Tim Duncan. How about him coming back in the NBA? Not as a player, though. An assistant coach for the Spurs.
Yeah, well,
I'm excited. I like seeing players back. I like seeing any sport player coming back and, helping their team out. Shows loyalty.
yeah.
Shows love for the game. And then you have the Antetokounmpo brothers have been making a lot of headlines this year. Costas was looked at and was taken in by the Lakers.
Yeah.
And then the Thansis was taken in by the Bucks. And by the way, Giannis has been talking up Thansis a lot. I mean, I know they're brothers, but hey, if Giannis, the best player in the league, is talking up his brother, hey, I'm going to take him word for word.
His brother who won EuroLeague MVP, or no, it was Greek League MVP with 8 points and 3 rebounds a game.
Yeah, so we'll see how they line him up. I hope that's going to be a fun team to watch. And speaking of the Bucks, Kyle Korver, a 1-year, $2.6 million contract to teach Giannis how to shoot three-pointers.
Yeah. The footage was dropped earlier today. Kyle Korver teaching Giannis how to shoot threes. Now, didn't Giannis shoot like 29% on threes last year?
I don't even know. However, though, if I'm thinking what I'm thinking, Kyle Korver coming off the bench as a three-point shooter is going to be great, and him teaching Giannis a three-point shot is going to be even greater, because if Giannis gets a three-point shot that can actually be above at least 50%, think about how an MVP in the paint can do if he gets outside of the paint from downtown. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited for the Bucks team this year, man. I really am. Even
if he shoots 35% consistently, that's huge.
Yeah.
And then
leading off, it's been, it was a fun basketball year. The Warriors didn't win. The Raptors won out of all teams. I'm really excited for this next season. A lot of big names went off to different teams. It's going to be a fun season. It's going to be a big mix around. It's going to be more equal this year, I think. It'll be fun.
And then the last story is Zion Williamson signing with Jordan Brand. Interesting move. After he played for Duke, he had a Nike shoe split wide open. Of course, Jordan went to North Carolina. Jordan Brand sponsors North Carolina, so he goes with the rival college. But he stays in the Nike umbrella because Jordan Brand, while they are their own entity, they are owned by Nike at the end of the day. So he didn't go with Adidas or Reebok or Puma or Converse, any of these up-and-coming companies. Even, again, Adidas and Reebok, who are, maybe second and third options, but are well-established. Or even Under Armour, who's got, of course, Steph Curry. No, he went with Jordan Brand. It gives him a very impressive portfolio of NBA talent, in my opinion. And, seems like perfect branding for a guy known for dunking in Zion to have the Jumpman dunking logo on his shoes, and I'm sure he'll get other apparel as time goes on. And that's going to do it for this week's Point 9 with Skol and IA. Any closing thoughts, IA?
It was fun. I mean, I hope we get to do this a lot more. I want to do this at least once a week, so that'll be fun. We'll make sure the presentation's better next time. We kind of put this together overnight, so I'll make sure that we can get better. Maybe we can get some animations going. We'll see. So I'm excited to start the series up. We'll see how this goes, and I hope you guys loved it because we love doing this, and we hope that you guys enjoy the content that not just we put up, but he puts out, because Skol is doing so much for you guys that it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun to do this with him. Can't wait to continue the series.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yes, closing thoughts for me. For those wondering how the show is going to be structured, because certainly if you've made it to this point, you sat through our first episode. We're generally going to record episodes of Point 9 with Skol and IA, either on Tuesday or Wednesday, get it edited Thursday, and post it on Friday of a given sports week. Now, for future episodes, sports that are more relevant, more in season, we're going to talk about more. Sports not as relevant or in season, we're going to talk about less. If there's any topics you would like to see discussed in a future episode of Point 9 with Skol and IA, let us know in the comments. IA, for those who don't know, we've been friends going back, at least 9 years at this point. So we've known each other for a while. He's supported the channel for anyone who's been at streams or paid attention to video comments going back pretty much to day one, if not to day one. I mean, heck, we did YouTube stuff on friends' channels of ours before either of us had YouTube channels too. If IA wants his channel linked in the description, we'll talk about that after we're done recording. Be sure to click on that and subscribe to him in the description. If you have any suggestions for how we can improve Point 9 with Skol and IA for episode 2, feel free to let us know about that as well. Again, this was put together pretty quickly, and admittedly, there's things we'd like to improve for episode 2 and beyond, but if you have specific feedback, we would love to hear that so we know specific things you'd like to see improved. I think that does it for episode 1. I'm Skol on behalf of IA. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and until episode 2, and as always, we'll catch you on the flip side.